Hey folks, back again. Super excited to have you here today. I think this topic is going to be very interesting to all of you who are not represented, and I feel like a lot of you who are represented are going to be nodding along with me going, uh-huh. Today our topic is 5 misconceptions that I had about getting a literary agent. When I went through the querying process, the agent was the golden goose at the end of the race. Querying took so long for me that I really thought once I got my literary agent, that was it. I mean, I was going to get to join the celebration. I was going to have my book published for sure. This was it. Um, well, I signed with a literary agent. Let me tell you what happened next. Number one, it takes so long to get a book published. You think that querying is the long part of the race? No. Querying is like walking up to the race line and being like, I want to participate, here's my information. That's what querying is. The real race is getting on submission and being on submission and getting into the publishing field at that point. It takes so long. I signed with my literary agent in August of 2017. It is now March of 2019, and I am not published. Hoping it happens soon, but I mean, it's been 2 years. It's been almost 2 years, and I haven't made strides. And from what I can tell, based on the people I've talked to, and I plan on bringing many of them in to talk to you, that's not uncommon. Apparently, it's incredibly uncommon for the first book that you go on submission with to actually get picked up by an editor. It didn't happen as fast as I expected it would. When I signed with a literary agent, I really thought that by the end of the year, I'd be celebrating a book contract. We weren't even on submission until November, and I signed with Caitlin in August. And that, again, is not that uncommon. Number two, I thought that I was going to be best friends with my agent. And I am. I really love Caitlin. She's fantastic. I love working with her. We have a great cordial relationship, but having an agent is first and foremost a professional relationship. They're there to sell your book. They're not a best friend. They're a business partner. Your agent is there to help you make strides in the publishing world, and that's really what you want them for. I mean, you really want them to be that advocate for you in the professional world because we can't have access to publishing the way that they do. Some agents will be buddy-buddy with you. Some agents are best friends with you. Like I said, I have a great relationship with Caitlin. We talk almost every day, and it has morphed over 2 years into a really beautiful friendship. But first and foremost, she's my literary agent, and it's important for me to remember that going forward. If I need some help with plotting, I don't go to Caitlin. I go to my writing buddies, my critique partners, my beta readers. Having those other people involved in your life allows you and your agent to focus on what's really important, which is getting your book out into the world. Sometimes it doesn't pan out into the relationship that you're hoping for, but that doesn't mean it can't still be a fantastic professional relationship when you're done. Number three, I assumed when I signed with my literary agent that my book was done. I got a literary agent. I mean, obviously it was polished. It must have read well enough. That isn't quite how life works. When you get a literary agent, most of the time, even if they're not editing agents, most of the time they're going to need to read through it and fix a couple things in the few weeks after you sign with them. Now, again, this is different for every agent. Caitlin and I went through about 2 different editing passes. The first one addressed bigger plot issues that she noticed when she was reading. She still liked the book enough to sign me, but these needed to be addressed before we sent it to an editor. And then the other pass was copy editing. And because Caitlin is an editing agent, she was really good at that and still is able to go in and really fine tune those sentences to make sure that it just reads very, very professionally. Again, some agents do this, some don't, but I think it's fair to assume that there's going to be a several week buffer period from the moment that you sign with your agent to the moment that you go on submission. At the very least, it's going to take a couple weeks. Point number 4, your book may not get picked up by an editor. I'm sorry, I wish that I had something else to say. I really assumed that the book that I got an agent with was going to be the best thing I've ever written. It was going to be the absolute best. This is the holy grail of novels. I read this article from the Nelson Literary Agency where Danielle Burby was talking about one of her clients and how she went through, I think it was 7 years on submission. She was on submission for 7 years. I think they had 6 different novels that they were on submission with over the course of those 7 years. I'll link to that article down below because I think it's worth a read. But that's typical. I mean, you get a literary agent and you think that you're all of a sudden going to be making money in traditional publishing with this book. It might not even get picked up. I mean, if you can get it in your first or second book, that's fantastic. But a lot of people go 3, 4, 5 books without getting an editor to turn their way and purchase it from them. And again, I think that basing your life off the idea that once you get a literary agent, all your dreams will be met, it's not a recipe for happiness. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be disappointed. I think that it's just good to be realistic about these kind of things. Which brings me to point number 5. You can't go on submission with more than one book in more than one genre. Now, again, this is depending on the literary agent. Caitlin doesn't like to go on submission with more than one book in more than one genre because we'd be sending it to a lot of the same editors that my current book is already with. You know, I kind of hit a point where it wasn't worth it for me to write anything new until we knew how the current book on submission was going to go. So even though I'm always thinking about books, I'm always plotting books, I've kind of slowed down on writing them, to be honest. I used to write about 2 a year. Now I write maybe 1. I mean, I've slowed down because there's really no reason for me to keep piling these books on my hard drive when I could be doing other things that would make me happier in life. If I'd known those 5 things going in, I think I would have been happier overall. It hasn't slowed down my process. I'm still just trucking right along. You know, now we're running the marathon. We're getting involved in the race. But I really do wish that I'd known these things in August of 2017. I had no idea what it was like to be represented. And I've been working towards querying for so long. I was used to getting emails every day. There's none of that on submission. There's nothing to do because you don't do anything at this point. You know, you have written your book, you've edited your book, you've sent it off to your agent, and you're on submission. And now it's just waiting. You have to wait for months, years sometimes before you hear anything back. You know, you might get an editor response every other month if you're lucky. You have to have other things to do. Getting a literary agent is not the end all be all. It does not guarantee that you're going to get a book contract by the end of the year. It really just means that you've entered the race, which is amazing and still something to be proud of. Tomorrow I'm going to be releasing a new video about the realities and misconceptions of being on submission. So stay tuned for that and I'll go more in depth about this. But hopefully this helped. And solidarity, you guys. I mean, it's a race, but we've got this. If you guys really like this content, please comment below and let me know what you all thought. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. That'll really get me some excitement going on because I get so excited when I see people commenting on my stuff. Anyway, stay tuned for that video tomorrow about being on submission, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.